Our next speaker is Peter, and his paper is entitled A Study of Return Migration, Family Networking and Development in Lebanon, the Case of Lebanese Nigerians.
Good morning, audience. I am very grateful to the organizers of this conference for inviting me to come and share some of the results of my finding in Lebanon for this research work. This research work was born out of my own imagination, and in 2006, it attracted the Codestra Award of $10,000 as a book project. So I got to Lebanon just by I think by miracle, searching through the internet. I was actually looking for postdoctoral fellowship in either Australia or New Zealand, when the internet just showed me Lebanese Immigration Research Center. And so immediately I contacted Gita Orani, the director, and she was very, very surprised that a Nigerian was actually doing this study. So she invited me, and we put our papers together, and I came to the center. And she designed this topic that because of the lack of the intensive study on within migration itself, especially when you look at return migration, there has not been much study on it within the global context. And then the family network also, there is not much in Lebanon. So we're able to design this study in order to do this research work. So we began by looking at the literatures, on various aspects of migration, return migration, transnational network, family networks, and so on. And we discovered there are 4 types of typologies from the various literature that people return because of failure in their home countries, or for conservatism, or for innovation, or for retirement. And some return as a result of nostalgia. But I was literally thinking that in a country like Lebanon, where political instability and so many things have been happening, how is it that people were able to return, and come and do carry out some sort of development? So the methodology was, we took 2 export migrant villages. Miziara is a Christian-dominated village in the north of Lebanon, and Juweya is also a Muslim-dominated village. These 2 export migrant villages are the original places where the Lebanese where the Nigerian Lebanese come from. So I went to these places, interviewed about, in the first place, the first village, I interviewed about 25 Lebanese Nigerians who returned home. Most of them, it's not that they are permanent returnees. Some are, but most of them are businessmen who come to Lebanon during summer. They come to Lebanon during summer, and because of the proximity of Lagos to Beirut, so they visit Lebanon regularly, So I interviewed them there, and then I also went to Juweya, stayed there also to interview the Muslim Lebanese migrants who come to Nigeria. So in the first case, we had the Lebanese returnees. The questionnaire we drew up consisted of the 4 typologies of returnees. Reasons for returning, either for conservatism, or for innovation, or for retirement, or for nostalgia. The questionnaire also included the areas of development. What aspect of development were they doing? Development projects that they were doing through the use of remittances. That was being done. Then philanthropic donations and so on. That included those areas. So the interviews there was in this part, the 1885 to 1890. We first of all look at the a chronology of the Lebanese migrants who have come to the country, and we discover that it is not only in Nigeria that you have Lebanese migrants. So please, it is throughout the West African broad region. Even you have them in Congo, you have them in so many places of Africa. But the interesting thing is that I am only looking at the Lebanese that have come to Nigeria and have returned. So you have them like that throughout the broad perspective of the West African region. Lebanese in Senegal, Lebanese in Cameroon, Lebanese in Cote d'Ivoire, Lebanese in Ghana, and so many studies are going on in all this area. But for this particular one, I think it appears that I'm the first Nigerian researcher to trace the Lebanese to their origin in Miziara, where they've come from, to look at why have they come to Nigeria. And we have the first arrival, alias Kuri, 1885 to 1890, although scholars have not actually agreed on the actual date. But we look at it that most of the writers have emphasized 1890. That is from the few literature that have been done on the Lebanese. And Elias Kuri was followed by other waves of immigrant families. And this led to the creation of, in subsequent years, we have about 4 waves, maybe 1885 to 1890, after 1890 itself, down to the First World War, 1920 to 45, Second World War, 1945 till the time that we attained independence, 1960, then 60, 70s. Then that wave was going on like that. But the creation of that community was done through network. The families were used. The first family, like this first family, Elias Kuri, is a Christian, and he came from Miziara in the northern part of Lebanon. Now, the earliest migrants, they came from this area, and of course, some of them had gone to places like Brazil, America, and other places. So it is not all the Lebanese that came to Nigeria from 1890 that actually came from this place. Some had migrated to places like Brazil, South America, Mexico, before coming to Nigeria, either during the second wave, either from 1918 or 1920 to 45. That is at the end of the Second World War. The reason why I'm saying this, so that you can understand the network that was being created to facilitate this development. So you have them like that. After this, after the arrival, it was the second village that is in Miziara. You have people in Juwaya, the Muslim South. It was after the migrants from Miziara had come to the country, and the people of Juwaya had seen that this migration was actually paying from the remittances they were bringing down. So some families from this Muslim village began to migrate to Nigeria as well, but they are situated in Kano. They are not, majority of them are not based in Lagos. Once they come, if they come from Lebanon through a family network, through a family connection, they are being connected to the families. So they will now go, a Muslim, for example, in Juwaya now, will identify a Muslim Lebanese migrant. And through that process, he will now migrate to either Lagos or in Kano. They are most of the Muslim Lebanese Nigerian migrants, they are based in Kano. And Kano is again another commercial center. You have Kano, you have Zaria, and so on. So once they come to this, for instance, if they come to Lagos first, from Lagos, they identify another Lebanese who will be able to accommodate them and move there. And then we have flight also from Kano to Beirut. That's about less than, maybe around 5 hours, Kano to Beirut. So you see the proximity why the Lebanese are coming constantly. When you compare it to places like Australia and Brazil, look at the distance. You see, so it's very easy for them to get to Nigeria. Similarly also for other West African countries, it is very easy for them to move in that direction. So that's provide the reason. And like I've said, this we have some of them who had stayed in some West African countries, like Republic of Benin, the Muka family, Muka Fazi Mukarim, for instance. Their earliest father stayed in the Republic of Benin, presently Dahomey, in the past Dahomey. So from there, they came to Lagos. Then you have the Chaguri family too. The earliest one came to Nigeria in the 1930s. And then you have others who went to Brazil or Mexico, like the 7-Up Bottling Company, which is popular. The earliest father of the 7-Up Bottling Company, Mohammed Al-Khali, was formerly in Mexico. But after an unsuccessful business something, he came to Nigeria and started. And then he made his fortune there to settle and got franchise for 7-Up Bottling Company and so on. So this has been the process of migration. So it's not all of them that have come from this particular place. Then you look at how the various families, like as I've said, are well connected until they introduce to each other what they have. Is that the last one? You look at how they have been connected to each other. But the most important thing is that the family itself is the basic thing for the Lebanese society. The family is being used as a way of connecting each other. And then you look at also how this development has been done. The development has been done through remittances. Remittances is an important aspect of this development throughout the villages in Miziara and Juweya. You find that the Lebanese have consistently, whenever they are in the country, they've consistently remitted some amount of money home to develop schools, encourage their families to go to school, and do a lot of things. And then the philanthropic donation or transnational network has been also an important part of this development. In which case you can get a Nigerian Lebanese whose father has stayed perhaps in Brazil or France and still has that connection. They connect themselves and then they send something home for the development of the villages or both Miziara and so on. I myself am a beneficiary of the Lebanese philanthropy. My PhD program was financed by the former late ambassador Ahun himself, and later, before I got to do a postdoctoral research when I was a Fulbright scholar in New York, when I decided that as soon as I get back, I will concentrate on further studies on this area. So development is not the development, the remittances which is being used for development is not only in Lebanon. They also do a lot of development in Nigeria. They provide scholarship, build mosque, donations, like during the 2006 war when I was in Lebanon. The Lebanese community in Nigeria was able to mobilize $500,000 to assist their fellow Lebanese at home. Both within, I was caught up in the war when the research was going on. And then I saw practically what Lebanon looked like during war. Forced migration, and I was forced out because of the crisis. So in 2008, my ambassador assisted me to come back to Lebanon to carry on this project. It's going to be a book research project which is still going on, and I will very much appreciate your criticism on this, what you feel can be added on this work so as to make it a very excellent book. Thank you very much.